Owen Jones in the UK, who is a Guardian columnist. I believe he identifies as a socialist as well. And he was brought on to debate Labour MP Margaret Hodge. Labour MP. Just pointing that out there.
Well, yeah.
Not a Tory. Labour MP.
And this is the thing, like, the UK has went insane along this the same line and basically ran Jeremy Corbyn and his wing out of the party based on this smear that they were anti-Semitic when really they had criticism of this genocidal apartheid state that is doing genocide right now. And Owen Jones, I will say, I think could have been a little bit more forceful in standing up for that a moment, because I think we're at a loss because they won that with that tactic. But I'm glad to see him, stand up for on the right side of things in this moment, because this is.
I will say really this was like a few days ago, right? So it's even like the Hamas attack's even more fresh. So I'll give him that I mean, I thought it was excellent, but I hear your point. My point is just that what we're seeing right now of the genocidal stuff.
It's propaganda for genocide. Like, that's what it is. And it can masquerade itself as concern for victims of terror attacks, but it's clearly absolutely one-sided, and there's an active genocide going on right now.
Yes. He hadn't seen the extent of what basically Israel unleashed, although it was obviously what many of us predicted. And that is why Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib called for a ceasefire, which has been criticized by the White House
as repugnant. Blinken also deleted a tweet using the word ceasefire. It's
repugnant to call for peace, apparently. I mean,
because violence is the answer, is the implicit message being sent, and Israeli violence is good and Hamas violence is bad.
So this is a bit long, but you'll see how desperately Owen tries to get through here, and just how there's absolutely no way to penetrate.
Your experiences of it does bring it to life, what some of those horrors are that we've seen. Do you share that fear that things are going to get worse before they get better?
Yes, of course, and obviously, firstly, it's so important to share the disgust and horror at what happened. I was at a rave on Saturday with my friend who's an Israeli citizen, and I was with him as he took a call from his family. His niece escaped that rave. Two of her friends were kidnapped and are now being held hostage by Hamas. There's no cause on earth which justifies the slaughter of innocent civilians, and the horror and disgust is raw with so many people, and the anguish of what those left behind are going for is indescribable. Obviously, my concern about what happens next is partly informed by what's happened before. When we talk about how Israel responds, already the Israeli government, which is a far-right government, have made clear that they will institute a policy of collective punishment. The defence minister said, "I've ordered a complete siege in the Gaza Strip. There will be no electricity, no food, no fuel. Everything is closed. We are fighting human animals, and we act accordingly." That is the language of war crimes. It is illegal under international law to impose collective punishment on a people. 80%. I'd let you speak. So you're going to respond. 80% of those who live in Gaza, which is an open-air prison, depend on humanitarian aid.
But you're not acknowledging Owen. You're not acknowledging Owen.
Margaret, I'd let you speak at great length.
I tell you what I can't stand is that you're using the horrors that we've experienced in the last 3 days to bang the drum about an issue that you've been.
Pause it. I'm sorry. This is exactly the problem of, like, as if this shit all started the last 3 days. And I will say this absolutely I stand on this. There is no cause that justifies this violence, but there is a history that explains it and a structure that explains it, and that is apartheid and occupation. And this desire to wipe that out is apology for those systems, and it is also setting the table for future cycles of violence, as Noah said. Like, I'm so disgusted with all these sort of like supporters of Israel, the Israeli government, just can't. They're just like desire to get in there with, but you're not. No, you are the one that is not accepting the situation here, which is apartheid and occupation and desperation. Like that is, and the idea that like anybody who is bringing that in defends terrorism, you don't see us making that thing like, oh, you must like apartheid and you must like occupation. But like the farther this goes on, the farther the less willing I am to grant people that grace.
Yeah.
And I'll just say, like, you want the carpet bombing of Gaza, you want those people removed, and you want that land, and that's what you care about more than any. I don't think you care about the people that died. I think you want to use them as a propaganda object to kill more people.
I mean, you said it exactly right. It is the fact that there's this driving, relentless push to look only backward, as opposed to,
only backward like 72 hours.
Right. Sorry, but like as if this isn't about to happen, right? As if there aren't about to be more murders. Like it's like watching like something and you have no control over it. And it is aiding exactly what you're saying. Let's keep watching.
No, I'm not.
And what I think
Margaret,
you should really
Margaret.
think about is how the people of Israel who have now been there for, have nowhere else to go.
Margaret,
they have nowhere else to go.
Is it possible for me to respond? Right now, Palestinian children whose life is as sacred as a child in Israel are being slaughtered. They are dying. Okay. Now, 50% of the please let me finish.
I'll let you come in.
50% of the population of the Gaza Strip are children, and those children are being bombed by a government which has said that we are fighting human animals and we act accordingly. Benjamin Netanyahu demanded the civilians of Gaza Strip leave. You cannot leave the Gaza Strip. It is under blockade by air, sea and land. Now 96%, please let me finish.
Yeah, I will, but
96%, because Margaret spoke at length, 96% of those who have died in the last 15 years are Palestinians. And we cannot talk about what's happened because, when I spoke to my Israeli friend who took that call, for him, what he wants is this to never happen again. And that context for him was so important because unless there is a lasting peace, which does mean ending the occupation and a policy of apartheid and ending the murder of Palestinian civilians, then this will never end.
Margaret.
Well, all I would say is that Owen is completely and utterly ignoring what has happened over the last few days. You have ignored all.
Owen, just wait.
All you've talked about, Owen, is your obsession, the obsession with so many people around the issue around Palestine. It's been an obsession forever, and you should just think.
An obsession
think
forever.
At the moment, if you were an Israeli sitting there, if you'd had family, I mean, here I am. I'm sitting here, and the people I visited, probably, I don't know how many of them are still alive. Are you saying they have no right to defend themselves? Are you saying they have no right to be? All you have argued is how I've never supported the Netanyahu government. No. I've always been critical of that. But at this moment in time, this is the most horrific. This is the most horrific occasion and you should. You condemn it. Do you even condemn it?
I just opened in the strongest possible terms condemning the atrocity.
But you don't think they have the right?
I'm sorry, but like the response just has to be: do you condemn the occupation? Do you condemn apartheid? Mm-hmm. And this whole finger pointing, we're on the right. That woman there is on the side of genocide. She's on Sky News, a major news organization in one of the Western powers that is lockstep behind the Israeli government as they commit genocide. And like the finger needs to be pointed at these people. Like Naftali Bennett talking about, you want me to care about kids? Shame, and then saying shame on us. No, shame on everyone on that side of things right now, because that's the side that is actively doing genocide. And
I mean, Bradley, I'm actually going to direct this towards you because I don't know if we've talked about this on the show, but you are half Iranian, you are half Muslim, and like, what is it? I mean, just your experience of having basically the humanity of Muslim Palestinians just not be a part of the conversation, and she just ignores the entire prelude of him giving a pained and thoughtful expression of what Israelis are going through, and then tries to turn the conversation to talk about the humanity of Palestinians. And that is, she attempts to shut it down. And both the anchors going, okay, and, as is this MP. Like, I don't know if I'm overstepping and asking you that, but I just wanted to hear what your perspective was on it.
No, yeah, my family in Iran is pretty like secular. We're pretty non-religious Iranians, but be that as it may, I've always had an understanding that I've always had an understanding that Iranians have a negative connotation, not only just in America because of like the axis of evil and a lot of the, catch-all being that we're the Iranians or that Iran is the #1 state sponsor of terrorism, but also from Israel. That like if I've always if I am in a conversation with someone who I think is a Zionist or is from Israel, I have no judgment. I feel no discriminatory way, but I sometimes feel uncomfortable expressing that I'm Iranian because I know what that means to certain people who feel that way or share that ideology. So, and also I know as an Iranian that it is extremely incumbent upon Iranian citizens, in the same way that we were talking about with Palestinians, like that Noah was saying, the "Do you condemn" game happens a lot with Iranians too, because it's hard to say that you're proud to be an Iranian or support Iranian people if that then is completely synonymous with saying that you support the Ayatollah or support the theocracy or support the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. It's the same thing for Palestinians. Are they allowed to advocate for their freedom? Are they allowed to fight for themselves without condemning Hamas prior, or without wholeheartedly, full-throatedly condemning Hamas? Like, I share a lot of sympathy with the difficulty that comes with feeling the need to kind of preface the defense of your identity and the defense of your plight before, while also having to qualify the barbarity or the horrors or the kind of ignominy of the people who lead you.
Right.
And so this always is the hardest part, where any sort of sincerity, any sort of grace, any sort of type of forgiveness or retributive aspect of this for either end is penalized, is stigmatized. Like Owen Jones right here, and in many others, if the condemnation does not match his grace, if the condemnation does not match his feelings towards these Palestinian people, then he is the one who's wrong, not anybody.
And his prelude to this could not have been more thoughtful, as I say, but it doesn't really matter though. The point is that nothing except full-throated support for Israel's genocide, which is ongoing, and the ethnic cleansing that preceded it and the context that is included there. It will never be enough for someone like her here, but let's finish this.
And also, you don't get credit for not supporting Bibi Netanyahu. That's a broader question than just Benjamin Netanyahu. It's, do you support the occupation and apartheid system? And this all this anxiety of wanting to cut Owen off is all because they don't want to acknowledge that they do. These are apartheid and genocide supporters and occupation supporters. That's what they look like, and they're all over a fucking TV screen.
Solution, which
I don't think they have a right to defend their state of Israel.
The military solutions that have been pursued against the Gaza Strip have led to huge bloodshed.
You don't think they have the right to defend themselves?
I think a military attack on Gaza will lead to countless dead Israeli soldiers and huge numbers of civilians.
They should allow the hostages to die.
And I have to say, Margaret, when you said
ceasefire and negotiate for their release,
it's very difficult to have a conversation if you just speak over each other. I don't think it's that nice to watch.
You make me really angry. Because you're using this horror.
No, Margaret,
I'm going to come in. I am actually going to come in. Okay,
right.
I'm going to come in.
Sorry.
Thank you, both of you, for speaking. No.
We have to talk about the Palestinians being killed now. That's the point. That's not an obsession with the issue. I get that. But to say it's an obsession with Palestine when we're talking about Palestinian civilians who are being killed right now.
Thank you very much for coming on the programme and having the debate. I utterly accept that with babies, children dying, it's
both, and they both matter the same.
with babies and children.
To say that controversial is.
I think it's pretty clear that with babies and children dying, emotions are running extremely high, and I actually think that this just demonstrates the emotion that people are feeling, the anger that people are feeling now.
Why would she cut the conversation off there? I mean, the UK press has, with the exception of some MSNBC hosts, like Mehdi Hassan, obviously, who's the gold standard for that, but like, or Ali Velshi, right? They've been speaking out about Palestinians.
Surprise.
Right.
White guys.
Right. Yeah, right. Exactly. And I've noticed this in my personal life too. There really is there are battle lines that you know, people who aren't white, and there's also, I would say, a class divide of collective understanding of what Palestinians are going through, and you can see this unequivocal support for Israel falling along those lines, whether it's a class, but also for people who are formerly colonized or colonized peoples who understand the plight here and the full context. I think that clip is instructive in seeing her resistance to hearing him whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, good on Owen for being insistent on that, because people do need to hear it, and the idea that it'd be sort of looked at as rude that, hey, we need to keep in mind that all babies that are dying in this matter, and the offense that they took is that, well, we want to actually just have one set matter because we're using them as propaganda object to further an imperial conquest of occupied peoples.
You want to play what you sent?
Yeah, I put this old Chomsky clip on. This is from 2002. I just feel like it's interesting to watch a little bit of it because things don't really change a whole lot. It turns out, and I mean everything from the Al-Aqsa Mosque, you know. And that's why we need to start having the conversations that Owen Jones was trying to insist upon, because the cycle that we've been having where it's just like, oh, these terrorists and Israel has the right to defend itself, that's why those people got slaughtered.
Yeah.
This is the 35th year of a harsh, brutal, and vicious occupation, supported unilaterally by the United States, constant terror and atrocities. Suppose Palestinians say, well, we're under terrorist attack for 35 years, therefore we have a right to carry out suicide bombings.
Which is what they say.
Do you accept this? Does anybody accept it?
Nobody accepts it.
All right, then how come everyone accepts the Israeli claim to be doing it, which is a much weaker claim? Because after all, there's no symmetry in this situation. They are the military occupiers. Palestine isn't occupying Israel. And this isn't just started now. It's going on years ago. I mean...
So does that, in your mind, justify
No, it does not. Of course not. It doesn't in anybody's mind.
It invalidates both sides.
Those who defend suicide bombing, and there are very few, don't have a leg to stand on. Those who defend the Israeli atrocities, including the U.S. government, most intellectual opinion, a good bit of the West generally, yeah, they don't have a leg to stand on either, and they have a much weaker position. For 35 years, there has been a harsh, brutal, miserable military occupation. There has not been a political settlement. The reason why there has not been a political settlement is that the United States unilaterally has blocked it for 25 years. Is it supported by the entire world, including the majority of the American people? The answer to that question is yes. There is a political settlement that has been supported by virtually the entire world, including the Arab states, the PLO, Europe, Eastern Europe, Canada.
Didn't Barack put that on the table?
No, he did not.
He did not.
That is also supported by the majority of the American people. It has just been reiterated by Saudi Arabia. The U.S. has unilaterally blocked it.
I'd recommend that full, there's another 8 minutes there, but,
I mean,
the same arguments.
His clarity in the situation is always. You can always look to Noam Chomsky for some sort of context here. But again, to reiterate what we said earlier, it is the future violence is currently being justified by trying to bottle the attack by Hamas into a singular, narrow context, whether making it about anti-Semitism purely, or whether making it about just the attack and not the broader context of the disproportionate rolling violence that Palestinians face and why conditions may lead to the kinds of desperation that allows for a group like Hamas and its militant terrorist wing to be empowered. In order to really, really find a way forward without violence, that context needs to be reckoned with. But there is a massive push to not do so. Because and a propaganda effort by the Israeli government that we're still probably failing to see how broad it is. I mean, we talk about Russian propaganda and their apparatuses.
Please.
The Israeli government rivals the Russian government in the way that they can put out so much disinformation to abet their atrocities, and
even in non-emergency times,
exactly.
It swamps. I think, and I don't think I think a good retrospective review of Russian, say, propaganda ahead of the Ukraine invasion might be interesting. I think usually countries, when they go to war, they have propagandized for it. But Israel, like that, Hezbollah is the term for it. They have people who just lie on the behalf of Israel in media all the time, and I like this last week has been probably like people talk about like the disinformation stuff as if it's like it's all the people who hate Israel. It's insane, right? Like we're seeing literally like the disinformation is people aren't showing enough sympathy and exclusively showing sympathy to Israel. Like
yeah, well think about, like you say, even in non-crisis times, it was called anti-Semitic to boycott, divest, and sanction Israel. To not buy Sabra, that's anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
What do you think that they're able to put out into the public with like that infrastructure in place right now when they're trying to sell a genocide to the world? Just be conscious of that.